This segment is brought to you by Dr. Pepper. All the flavor you deserve without the sugar. New Dr. Pepper, zero sugar. Welcome back in to Countdown to Kickoff as we get you set for Arizona and Dallas. Preseason game number 2 for the Cowboys. And last season it was a revolving door at offensive line. There were 10 different games that included a different starting offensive line than the game prior. And Nick, 3 of those guys returned. Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, Lyle Collins to full health this year, and it sure is nice having them back.
Oh, without a doubt. And the one guy that knows a lot about offensive line is Nate Newton. He got a chance to sit down with those big 3 to figure out what's the mindset with this group and how can they be elite again in 2021.
I look at you guys, man, and I'm jealous. Number one, because I never looked that good. I had to get down to 295 pounds before I even looked like y'all. I would come in camp at 345. What's the highest, Mr. Smith, you ever came in camp?
Like 322.
You were kind of overweight, feeling sluggish?
Yeah, a little bit.
That was my playing weight. If you 3 guys are healthy, where did this team end up this year?
You know, as long as we stay healthy, I mean, there's no limits to what we can accomplish. You know, we just got to do it together.
You know, we obviously went through some adversity last year, and, you know, it opened up some doors for some young guys to get in there, and I think our depth is as good as it's been in the last few years. But I think, you know, first and foremost, availability is the best thing. So guys got to take care of their body and be ready for a long 17-game season here.
For me, I go into mindset, I always got something to prove every year. And I want to prove that I could get better every year. And just take it day by day and try to get better.
Do you feel like if y'all are in place and your young center is coming to life and Connor continues to grow, are y'all a top 5 offensive line?
Absolutely. I mean, you can't think no other way. You know, you can't think no other way. You got to feel like you're the best, and you got to go out there and work and put the work in and show it. You know, so absolutely, we feel like we're the best.
I feel like it's you know, it's different every year, right? So this is a great test for our offensive line. Yeah, we've played a lot of football together. Connor's played now a few years. Tyler's coming in the mix. We got something new to prove, and that's exciting for our group. Is, hey, you know, we've been pretty good in the past, but right now, hey, let's go prove we still got it.
You know, you look at Zach Martin and you think, hey, this guy's going to go to the Ring of Honor one day, maybe even the Hall of Fame, and he still is saying he's got something to prove. This offensive line has something to prove it, and the big reason for that is this graphic you're seeing right there, just how many games were missed, and that means the offensive line has taken it down a notch a little bit. Not everyone, Kyle, is saying this offensive line is the best in the league anymore, and that's what they want to change.
Yeah, something to prove, and for all those math wizards out there, if you add those numbers together, 36 missed games from that trio alone out of a possible 48. It would be really nice to have them back, but how much pressure does that put on the offensive line this year?
Oh, I think that takes pressure off when you got 3 of your best players back out there. You know, it's nice to see them all together in that interview, but it's even better to see them on the practice field all together along with Tyler Biadasz and Connor Williams. And I like their attitude. It's like, okay, we're all back together, but it doesn't automatically mean we are the best offensive line in the league. They've got to be able to prove it. And Nick, I was there when Nate did that interview. You were there. We could have done a 30-minute show with those guys.
Yeah, big Nate. You know, he knows he's got 6 of those combined Pro Bowls.
Yeah,
you talked
19.
About 19, 6 out of 19. You know, were from Nate, so he understands a lot of those. He was asking questions he already knew the answer to. You know, but I love the fact that it was old school, new school, kind of mixing together a little bit there. And he knows. I mean, even those years, Mickey, when the offensive line maybe struggled some in the 90s, they always had that focus of, hey, this year we're going to get back, and I think that's what this group is trying to do.
And then let's remember tonight, probably not going to see all 3 of them out there together. Tyron Smith, Zach Martin probably won't play. LC played in the Hall of Fame game. He may get a little tonight, but again, when it's time to go, when the bell rings, they'll all be out there, and happiest guy is Dak Prescott.
Oh, you know that's the case. Dak and Ezekiel Elliott as well, both very happy. You know who else is happy about having those guys back? Mr. Stephen Jones, and the Chief Cowboys operating officer, will join us coming up after the break. We'll hear from Stephen Jones here on Countdown to Kickoff. Kickoff here from State Farm Stadium, home of the Arizona Cardinals, and the Dallas Cowboys invade the Valley in the Sun, and invading our set in a good way is Cowboys Chief Operating Officer Stephen Jones. Stephen, first off, thanks again for spending some time with us pregame. And this is nice to be back in the preseason, and I wanted to ask, how much easier, if at all, do these games make your job in player evaluation?
Well, they're very important to our game. I think it's exciting for our fans. I think it's just a must in terms of how you evaluate the talent, how you evaluate the players. We're just it's an interesting time, especially when you have a young football team like we have with the 11 draft picks, with the unrestricted free agents. Get to see these guys work with Dan Quinn is crucial. I know tonight is going to be real interesting for me to watch our two young corners, to watch Jabril Cox really try to build on what he did last week, to watch Osa and Bohannon really build on what they're doing. So, it's just a real must. And I do think our fans, as you play these games, they get more and more excited as we head toward the regular season and ready to really come out and get back to normal, if you will, after a real tough year with the pandemic.
Stephen, you mentioned some of the guys you'll be anxious to look at. With so many of the kind of frontline players not playing tonight, who else do you think gets an opportunity to really prove something to you tonight?
Well, I just saw a guy walking on the screen right there, Danucci. I think it's going to be a big night for him. He needs to continue to improve. Obviously got a lot of talent, a lot of arm talent, a lot of athletic ability, but obviously he's going to have to build on what he's doing in practice and let it transfer to the game. So that's real important. I thought Rico had a big week last week. It'll be great to see him get a lot of touches tonight. I'm going to be interested to watch Lyle again as he's coming off, not playing in almost 20 months. To really see him get more and more back into the flow of things. And then, of course, we got a good group of young offensive linemen as well, like Farniok and guys like that. Connor Williams obviously doing a great job transitioning over from guard to center, doing both and doing a great job of it. So, these games are just what it's all about when it comes to ultimately putting your team together. And now with 16 practice squad guys and a 53-man roster and all the moving parts with designated to return, PUP, at the end of the day, most of these guys are going to be around.
Yeah, you talked about some of the growth of some of the young players, especially with a young roster like the Cowboys do have. Have you seen anybody since 3.5 weeks ago we started training camp out in Oxnard who has made the biggest jump over that time period?
I thought the 2 tackles made a huge jump. Osa in particular, and Bohannon as well, really did a great job in the game. Really showed what we were looking for in the draft. With their length, they both got long arms. They both can sit in there and hold the point and do a good job making plays. One person I'm really excited to see we hadn't seen, but is going to be stepping up this next week is Hooker. So, obviously he's got a ton of talent, top 10 type player pick in the draft. You see those abilities, but obviously he's been working to get back into shape, and look forward to seeing him as well.
We'd be remiss, Stephen, if we didn't ask you about Dak Prescott. We saw him throwing here a little while ago. He threw at training camp Tuesday and Wednesday, threw a lot. How confident are you that he's ready for that season opener?
Well, he's just everything you want in a leader. I mean, you can't give him enough work. Unfortunately, you do have to protect it from himself because he'd be working 24/7 if that's what it took. But he's coming along as usual, ahead of schedule. As you saw, he threw the ball well out in camp. He threw it well tonight with Amari, and he's right on target. And of course, our undisputed leader in the locker room, and it's going to be great as he starts to work back in.
One of the goals you guys said in the offseason, improve that defense. And to me, one of the things that improved the defense immediately was the hiring of Dan Quinn. Your thoughts on what he's done so far with this defense trying to improve it?
Well, as much as I like the draft picks we made, as much as I like our free agency moves, Dan Quinn's at the top of the list in my mind in terms of really getting our defense turned around. He's got great energy. You're talking about a Super Bowl head coach in Dan Quinn. His communication is unmatched out there with the defensive guys. You can see the players are buying into it. They're communicating with one another, just doing a great job. And he's going to have this defense ready to go, and I think our fans are going to like what they see.
Stephen, it's not just Dan Quinn. Also, George Edwards has a bigger role working with the linebackers. You brought in Joe Witt, secondary pass game coordinator. So that defensive staff has changed, but you also added a couple more pieces with those guys.
Well, they're all great coaches, and Dan had a big hand in working with Mike on hiring those coaches. Hats off to Mike for getting Dan to come in here and coach this defense. So we just feel really good about how our players are getting coached on all 3 phases of the game, whether it's special teams, whether it's offense or defense. I love our staff, and really excited that they've got their hands on them. They're not having to do virtual meetings. They're interacting with them, and I think that's going to pay off for this football team.
So there were 8 road games last year, Stephen, where there weren't a whole lot of fans in the stands. We're expecting a pretty packed house tonight at State Farm Stadium. How nice is it to have a lot of Cowboys Nation on the road supporting again?
Well, it really feels good, and it's always great to see these fans. They're so supportive, and what we want to do for them is deliver a championship caliber football team. They've been patient. Obviously, Jerry and myself are, it's been a long time. So we want to deliver a championship football team for them, and looking forward to having success this year.
And by the way, speaking of fans, training camp's not over. You get back to the Ford Center next week, and you're going to have an open practice right away so the fans are able to come out.
Well, we're looking forward to that. California has been great having training camp out in Oxnard, but it is going to be nice to be back in North Texas where some of those fans who sometimes don't get the opportunity to go to games at AT&T Stadium, but do get a chance to come out to a training camp and get up close and personal with our team, with our coaches, with our organization, and that'll start Monday night. We bet with a big group there at the Ford Center.
Man, it is an exciting time of year around the NFL and especially the Dallas Cowboys. Stephen Jones joining us here on Countdown to Kickoff. Stephen, thanks again for spending some time with us, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Great being on.
When we come back here on Countdown to Kickoff, we just heard who Stephen Jones is looking out for. What about Mickey Spagnola? We give you our players to watch when we return. Countdown to kickoff as the Cowboys get set to face the Arizona Cardinals coming up in about 35 minutes. And that man on the left right there, Connor Williams, the only offensive lineman in 2020 to start and play in all 16 games. And we're going to talk about Connor Williams, Kyle Yeomans, alongside Mickey Spagnola and Nick Eatman here on the sideline in Glendale. And Mickey, there's been a lot of growth for Connor Williams because of the season he had a year ago, playing in all 16 contests around what was a revolving door of an offensive line. How much growth have you seen from him?
Oh, it's a heck of a lot. And you got to remember that last year he played all those 16 games, like Kyle said. He was coming off a torn ACL that he had to rehab the entire offseason. He missed a lot of games in 2019. So the fact that he played that well, I would imagine he's even improved at the left guard spot. And Nick, as we've seen so far in training camp, they're working him as the backup center, giving him an opportunity to see if he can master a position he's really not played before.
Yeah, he says that he's now kind of a rookie again when it comes to center just because he hasn't done it. But you got to remember, he was the young pup, and then last year he was the veteran, you know, because everyone was out. But the center position has been one that he's taken some snaps in. He has embraced it. He is a free agent at the end of this year. It's a contract year for him, and he just thinks the more you can do, the better. What I liked about it, he says, is I learned so much now about the whole offensive line production and just moving back to guard. He understands things more because of his snaps at center.
And Kyle, I would imagine they would like to get him some snaps with that first team offensive line, or whatever the first team offensive line is tonight. And just keep an eye on his snaps. I think that's the thing he's got to master. But boy, it sure helps out if he can prove that he's capable of that job. You save cap dollars, and you also save a spot on the game day 46-man roster.
That positional versatility from Connor Williams could open up a ton of doors from the Cowboys' offensive standpoint. But Nick, whenever it comes to a guy switching positions like that, especially when his responsibilities as a starter remains the same, how much does that say the coaching staff really values him specifically as an individual?
Well, you know, it always comes down to top 5 offensive linemen, and would it be the starting 5 to open a game, and then when there's an injury, you have to figure out who's the top 5 linemen here, and Connor Williams will be one of those. So it'll be an interesting thing to see what happens. You hope that the starting 5, those guys that we saw earlier, you know, we hope those guys will be there, and Connor will be playing the guard. But we saw last year you have to have some contingency plans, not just playing. You got to have more than one. But yeah, he's got so much versatility.
We'll certainly keep an eye on Connor Williams throughout the course of this game and then the rest of the preseason with the versatility back and forth. But it's time now for our Players to Watch, presented by American Airlines, the official airline of the Dallas Cowboys. And let's swing out to tackles, shall we? Because there's 3 guys that need a big-time preseason, Mickey, and one of them is Ty Nsekhe.
Very clever there with swing, because they need to find a swing tackle, somebody that can come in at the drop of a dime and play left tackle or right tackle behind the guys that are starter. First guy up is Ty Nsekhe, number 79 right there. He's got to prove that he's worthy of that job. The Cowboys have had trouble finding that particular guy to come in and take over if one of the tackles gets hurt. This has been going on for 3 years. Now they got another guy that's going to try and prove, Nick, that he can come in and be that swing tackle that has proven to be a very important spot over these last few years.
Yeah, without a doubt, especially and unfortunately because of the guy I think you saw in the background there, Tyron Smith, just being banged up like he's been. Last year, Terrence Steele got the opportunity to play a lot there on that right side, and he was an undrafted free agent from Texas Tech, and they just kept going with him, mainly because they had no other choice. But I think they were trying to develop him, get him stronger, get him for this moment right here. He's got left tackle feet. Let's see if he's got right tackle strength. If he does, he can play both sides.
And that was his deal last year. You know, you get an undrafted rookie, he's a free agent, he comes in, and all of a sudden, opening game, it's like, oh yeah, big boy, you're starting, right? No experience whatsoever. That's tough. And one of the things he had problems with last year was his strength. Well, he's another guy that had a really good offseason. He won one of the offseason awards for how much he improved. So we're going to keep an eye on him. And Kyle, one of the guys we won't get to see that we were hoping that was going to compete for the job is Josh Ball, their 4th-round pick, the offensive tackle. He's got a high ankle sprain. He's probably out another week or so. So I'm thinking, I don't know if he's still in the competition for that job. But these two guys we just talked about, probably the leading contenders right now.
Is that a possibility to see maybe Zach Martin all the way on the left and the number 70 as your swing tackle if somebody doesn't step up in the preseason?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a possibility. We saw it last year. Again, it's what I just said. Your top 5 linemen, what they have to decide, knock on wood, if something happens to one of the tackles, you have to decide, is it better for Zach Martin to slide out and McGovern come in? What did I miss here?
He just got hit in the face with a football.
Well, okay, then maybe he's...
Let's protect him a little bit here, right?
Well, he's going to wear a helmet.
Get him a helmet, right?
Yeah, this isn't the 1930s here. He's going to wear helmets. And so I think it'll just come down to Steele and Secchi on the right side versus McGovern at guard. You have to figure that out. But Zach Martin can do just about everything, and he showed it last year.
And if those other guys don't pan out, they should not wait like they did last year to move Zach Martin out to whatever tackle needs to be played, because he showed he can do that. And the other thing that was key, the guy that was standing there right next to him, number 66, Connor McGovern, he's earned their trust at the guard spot. So he can go in, take Zach Martin's spot if he has to move out the tackle.
He's going to get a helmet, maybe.
Yeah, he's getting something to protect the face. He's protected quarterbacks all over the place. But, hey, can we protect Zach Martin? Questions still behind him and behind Tyron Smith on the offensive line. But are there still questions behind Dak Prescott? Babe Laufenberg joins us from the booth when we return on Countdown to Kickoff.
Just showing that my eyes were in the right place. I was getting the ball out on time, not turning the ball over. There were a few plays during that Philly game where threw balls late down the field, and guys on the defense got their hands on the ball, just learned to throw the ball away or just check it down. Those are two big things. The backs say all the time we're always open. So just getting the ball in my playmakers' hands and just showing what I can do.
This segment is brought to you by Ashley Home Store, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys. Plenty of learning moments for Ben DiNucci and 3 different quarterbacks behind Dak Prescott. Without Dak Prescott participating throughout much of training camp, the trio of Ben DiNucci, Garrett Gilbert, along with Cooper Rush, getting plenty of work in the Hall of Fame game and throughout the rest of the preseason. Welcome back in to Countdown to Kickoff. Kyle Yeomans alongside Mickey Spagnola and Nick Eatman. Bateman. We've got a special guest joining us now from the booth. It's a third of tonight's broadcast team. Babe Lochtenberg, former Dallas Cowboys quarterback, now joins us. And Babe, I know you've got your eye on a couple quarterbacks to say the least. What are you looking for tonight?
Well, I guess let's start with the first one, Garrett Gilbert, who's going to start the game. And you do get the sense that this coaching staff, they're kind of pleased with what Garrett Gilbert is doing. That being said, it behooves him to come out, play well tonight. I thought he played well last week against Pittsburgh. Just a couple of mistakes, had the fumble down in the red zone that the Cowboys covered up. But I thought he played well against Pittsburgh. I thought he played well against Pittsburgh last year in the regular season. You know, it's funny, Kyle, people forget the Cowboys were leading the Steelers, who were undefeated at that time, 19-9 in the fourth quarter. And then that one got away from him. But again, I don't sense that the Cowboys are in the market for a backup quarterback. However, again, it does behoove Garrett Gilbert to play well tonight and let them see, hey, you don't need to go out there and find a guy.
Babe, you know, you've had that job as a backup quarterback, and the job they asked him to do last year, he gets in here early October, a couple weeks later, without a preseason, without an offseason, without probably many snaps with the first-team offense, and it was like, okay, you're the starter, go in and do it. How difficult do you think that is if you could explain to people as a backup quarterback?
Well, it was very difficult for him last year in the sense that, as you said, Mickey, he wasn't here for installation in OTAs and mini camps, which they didn't have, of course, around the league. But he wasn't here for training camp. He wasn't here for the start of the season. He literally was here for about 10 days. But Kellen Moore said this kid is so smart. They gave him the whole package when he came in and played against the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you go back the week before, it was Ben DiNucci's start against Philadelphia. That thing was really scaled down for Ben DiNucci, as it should be. Remember, he never played in a preseason game last year because they didn't have any. But they do like the smarts of Garrett Gilbert, and I think when you're looking at that backup quarterback, he's got to be smart because he doesn't get the reps that the starter takes week in and week out.
Hey, Babe, I got a question about mechanics. I want to talk about Ben DiNucci. We see sometimes in the middle of the game, he'll just revert back to like a third baseman and just kind of sidearm sling it here. Is that something that he can correct during the season, or is that kind of an off-season thing that he really has to work on? Well,
I think it is what it is with Ben DiNucci now. It's ugly to look at, and the big problem, too, is there are times, and we've seen it with Pat Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, where you do have to change your arm angle. However, he throws sidearm when he's in the pocket and he's got protection. So it's something that they have worked on with him. But again, he's probably made 50,000 throws sidearm. So it's just hard to break that habit. Here's the deal with Ben DiNucci, though, guys. He has led 18 drives, 12 in the regular season against Philadelphia last year, 6 against Pittsburgh in the Hall of Fame game. 18 drives, he has yet to get his team in the end zone. Tonight, Ben DiNucci has to figure out a way to get his team in the end zone.
Well, Babe, we certainly look forward to hearing you on the call with Bill Jones and Isaiah Stanback. Enjoy the game. Thanks for stopping by for Countdown to Kickoff. And we've got Coach Mike McCarthy joining us on the other side of the break. This segment was brought to you by Ashley Home Store, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys. John's, better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's, as we continue on here with Countdown to Kickoff between the Arizona Cardinals and the Dallas Cowboys from State Farm Stadium in Glendale. Our very own Mickey Spagnola had an opportunity to catch up with Coach Mike McCarthy. Here's what they had to say prior to the battle with the Cardinals.
Thanks, Kyle. Mike here at State Farm Stadium in Phoenix. Dak's not expected to play. Why don't you just give everybody an update on just where he's at and what you think the future process will be?
Yes, Dak will not play tonight. He's been working his way back into practice. I would put him in the light category as far as his workload, and we hope to increase that when we get back to Dallas.
Any chance that he gets, or do you want him to play in any of the preseason games?
Hopeful, but I think it's just not just one thing that will determine that. I think it's more about who he would play with, and obviously the progress that he needs to continue on with his throwing.
Broke camp in Oxnard. After this game, you head back to Dallas. You'll continue training camp at the Ford Center. What was your impressions of the camp this year?
Loved Oxnard. I think that obviously the weather is a huge help to, for the training of the football team. I think the new format, the 11-hour rule with the veterans, it's a challenge to get the heavy workload that you want to get done in the training camp. So, but I thought everything went very well. Love the setup out there, the way it flowed. I thought the players really enjoyed it. The continuity and the time that they also have to be together, particularly at night. So they had a little more time at night than you normally would. So I think it's a great place to have a training camp.
And just that you had an off-season mini camp. OTAs, had the guys together. How much ahead do you think you are than where you were last year when you started training camp?
You can't even compare this year to last year. I think this is getting back to close to normal, pre-pandemic as you possibly can. That's about a $1,600 fine. But so it's we're where we need to be. We're playing our second game. And this is a big opportunity for our younger players. I'm looking for some young guys to take a big step tonight. Take advantage of the opportunities, because there's going to be a lot of snaps, particularly in the second quarter, in the whole second half for our young players.
One of the things Dak told us is one of his goals was he wanted to end up with the #1 offense in the National Football League this year. What do you think gives him that confidence to say something like that?
Well, I just think it's the confidence he has, in his teammates and everything around the offense. It's an excellent system. It's a system that he's extremely comfortable in. He's mastered it, and he's a big part of the direction of the offense and how we go about it. So, but it's an excellent group. There's a lot of experience on our offensive unit, and yeah, definitely we want to see those guys take a next step.
One of the goals you said in the offseason was to improve the defense. Pretty obvious you wanted to get better. What have you seen so far that might make you think that it is improving?
I think it's a group that's ascending each and every day. There's always something that comes out of the defense that you're able to build on. I think the different personnel groups, because of our depth, is going to be a real advantage for us, particularly over the long haul of particularly a new 17-game season. So I'm just excited about that. The rookie class is already, you're already feeling their presence there on the defensive side of the ball, and also the new veterans, the new coaching staff, Dan Quinn, and it's been fun to watch it all come together.
Mike McCarthy in a bit of a coaching battle tonight against his former mentee, Cliff Kingsbury, and Texas native Cliff Kingsbury. When we come back, who's in, who's out? We'll give you the inactives. So the duel in the desert, Cardinals, Cowboys on Countdown to Kickoff. Just under 15 minutes to kick off between the Arizona Cardinals and the Dallas Cowboys. Preseason game number 2 for America's team. And we're live here from inside State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Kyle Yeomans alongside Mickey Spagnola and Nick Eatman. And what happened in that last interview, Mickey Spagnola? Was that your phone that went off?
It was my phone.
Okay.
$1,600. Do you want me to pay it right now?
He told me to give it to him. So if you want to pay me, I'll give it to him.
All right. I have some money left over from camp.
Oh, my gosh.
Really?
That much money? How much per diem do you get? Goodness gracious.
Money bags here.
Oh, my gosh.
The fines are hefty there.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Mickey, while flaunting his ringer tone and his wallet at the moment, also got a chance to look at some of the inactives. Here's what the Cowboys are dealing with in terms of players unavailable for tonight's matchup with the Cardinals. Anybody, Mickey, on that list stick out to you?
Well, Dalton Schultz got nicked up in that last practice in Oxnard. So they decided to be real careful with him and Randy Gregory. But with the rest of those guys, when it's time to start the season September 9th, absolutely they'll be there.
You know, for me, I look at Amari Cooper. Obviously, he's not going to play, but what does that mean? The trickle-down effect. You know, you won't see a lot out of CD and Michael Gallup, and then what happens after that? You think Cedric Wilson's going to make it, but I want to see about, you know, guys like Malik Turner. He had a big game, a couple of nice catches, but then after that, he had a big fumble. So we'll see what happens with the wide receiver position, but I do think it'll be fun to see what Malik Turner can do out here.
I think overall there's a lot of exciting players that can get an opportunity via injury. One that's kind of made an opportunity for himself has been Maurice Kennedy, a 2020 opt-out in the slot corner position. We got a fan question in on Twitter leading up into countdown to kickoff, and he asked, can Kennedy take a starting job from a guy like Jordan Lewis in the slot cornerback spot? Mickey, do you think that's possible with the way he's been playing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I mean, there's competition going, and Jordan Lewis has been working with the first team, so we'll see if that. But the key thing Joe Witt said at the end of the week was that they can play Kennedy outside. He's played outside, so it'll be interesting to see if they get him some snaps out there. I'll also be looking for Kelvin Joseph, their second-round draft choice. Want to see him step up and see if he can compete with Anthony Brown for that starting job on the left side. That's going to be maybe some competition. Maybe he's not ready right from the start, but let's see if he can compete for that job at some point in the season.
Who are you excited to watch overall, Nick, whenever the Cowboys take the field here in about 10 minutes?
Well, you know, I'll stick with cornerbacks. I like Nashawn Wright. I mean, if you would have said which one is the second-round pick, which one's the third, just by watching camp, it would be tough to tell. I do think Joseph is really making some progress here. But, man, Nashawn Wright's length, and same with the safety, Israel Mukwamu, I think I said that right. You know, the length there of those guys, you really could see it a lot.
Lots of evaluation, lots of learning going on throughout the preseason. Be sure to download the Cowboys Now app. That's it for us on the sideline. For Mickey Spagnola and Nick Eatman, we'll get Bill Jones and Isaiah Stanback here from the booth when we return.
A couple of minutes here of countdown to kickoff as we get you set for kickoff. The Cowboys and the Arizona Cardinals, State Farm Stadium here in Glendale, Arizona. I am Bill Jones calling tonight's game along with Isaiah Stanback and Babe Laufenberg. Babe will be along shortly as we wrap up countdown to kickoff. Isaiah, let's talk about some of the offensive guys you're looking forward to seeing and who might be able to make an impression on the coaching staff. Who comes to mind first for you?
Yeah, I'm really looking at that number 5 and number 6 slot for receivers, right? So we talk about the Malik Turners and Noah Browns and the Simi Fehokos and seeing who's really going to step up and make the big plays so they can be counted on going into the season.
Well, leave it to Isaiah Stanback, former 4th-round draft pick of the Cowboys, who's been in this position as a wide receiver before. Who do you like as far as those three go? Noah Brown as well as Malik Turner and Simi Fehoko.
Yeah, I have a strong feeling that the Cowboys are going to carry 6 receivers into this season. So I think Noah Brown's really kind of a lock at the number 5 position. So now you're looking at the new draft pick, right? The 5th-round draft pick, Simi Fehoko, and then you're also looking at Malik Turner, who's a special teams guru, to find out who's really going to be the one to edge out each other to take that 6th spot going into the year.
How about the guys we aren't going to see tonight? That would be C.D. Lamb as well as Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup. These 3 receivers at the top of the depth chart for the Cowboys, as good as any in the league.
Yeah, it might be the best trio that we've seen in the whole NFL. And obviously these guys are going to be taking care of this week. You might see a little bit of C.D. Lamb out there. Gallup might get a little bit of reps, but Cooper obviously is taking a little bit of a breather. But these guys are the most dominant, most electrifying offensive trio, probably aside from Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and then when you look at the defensive side of the football, the linebacker position especially, Micah Parsons has been so impressive throughout training camp. And I loved, like on Hard Knocks the other day, he's just itching to play some football and get out there. He couldn't believe he only got to play about 12 snaps last week.
Man, it's exactly what you want to see out of your 1st-round draft pick, right? Mike Parsons, he loves the game. You've seen that all on Hard Knocks. His passion, right, his drive. And you hear everybody talking about how fast he is, his quick twitch, his ability to be able to shoot the gaps and cover sideline to sideline. I'm excited to see this guy come along.
The other thing that you can look for as you look at Dan Quinn's defense and what we saw in Oxnard throughout training camp is the sub packages. Yeah. And he is figuring out a way to get these linebackers on the field in whatever way is best suited to have them perform.
Yeah, well, that's the one thing about Dan Quinn. He has so many different ways in which he can attack you, right? And the versatility of the players that they've added this year, not only in Micah Parsons, but you talk about the Jabril Coxes, these guys' ability to be able to carry tight ends down the field. You have to be able to do that in this league because everybody can run.
All right, it's getting loud here at State Farm Stadium. Mike McCarthy's Cowboys taking on Cliff Kingsbury's Arizona Cardinals. Babe Laufenberg is emerging from the makeup room, and he will join us shortly as the kickoff is straight ahead. Thanks for joining us for Countdown for Kickoff. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
This is my community. This is